Did you hear that California politicians have decided to ban gas-powered cars? Nobody's going to be able to buy a gas-powered car in California very soon. It has to be electric. I'll tell you why this is not only a crazy mandate, but it will end up costing you a lot of money. I'm Carl DeMaio, chairman of Reform California, and California state politicians have decided to ban the sale of gas-powered cars in our state. This is just insanity, and I'll explain why in a moment, but you need to know that this is a mandate that's going to end up costing you a lot of money, and it's not just in terms of how you get around, how you drive. It's going to cost you a lot of money just for basic daily living expenses. Before we do this, though, before we talk about electric vehicles and this mandate, I want to make it perfectly clear that this is not a video about climate change. We're not going to debate climate science. We're not going to debate whether the effort to reduce carbon emissions is worthy. That's for a different time. But whether you agree or disagree with that effort, we have to ask the question, is it worth hurting working families to implement a goal, implement a mandate that's just absolutely not practical? You know, even if you say that you're trying to combat climate change and you're going to reduce greenhouse gas emissions, even if you say that, that doesn't mean that it absolves you of the responsibility to make sure that your idea is practical and affordable and doesn't have all sorts of other negative impacts on society. And clearly, California state politicians do not understand the implications, the impacts of an all-electric vehicle mandate for our state. We're going to explore those, though. Before we do, I want you to take a look at this video recently posted by a guy named Carl DeMaio. It's about a Los Angeles fire department that is showing off its new toy, an electric fire truck. Yeah, that's right, an electric fire truck. Take a look.
This is what your typical fire truck sounds like. And this is what an electric fire truck sounds like. The Los Angeles Fire Department now operates the first electric fire truck in North America. The truck is still red, but everything else is green.
Well, take a look at this truck. Doesn't it kind of look like it's an RV, like one of those luxury RVs? It looks totally different than a real fire truck. And by the way, I'm not surprised that LA is the first in the country to do this, because I don't think anyone else would be stupid enough to waste their money on this.
All right, we're inside the electric fire truck, and it's very quiet. That's the first thing you notice.
There are no diesel fumes or noisy engine. The roomy interior has high-tech displays and digital mirrors for better views. There's LED lighting and level indicators for water and foam. The electric drivetrain handles steep hills with ease.
All right, stop right there. Stop right there. You are not able to convince me that an electric truck of that size handles steep hills with ease. We've looked at electric buses, the transit buses that LA bought. They've had major problems with going up steep hills, so much so that they've had to change routes. So no, I'm not buying the notion that the electric truck can handle steep hills with ease. That's nothing but PR baloney.
There's all-wheel steering for a smaller turn radius and a crab mode that lets the truck easily go around things. The Rosenbauer truck can travel 62 miles on pure electric, over 300 if the gas-powered range extender kicks in.
All right, wait, hold on. So what they're saying, 62 miles on electric. And of course, they've got gas because they know that they're going to need it. But 62 miles. If you have an emergency that is 6 miles away, that's a 6-mile journey there, 6-mile journey back. That's 12 miles. You can do what? 4 trips a day on a truck? Because remember, the truck still runs while they're at the scene. It's not like you just turn it off. The idea that a truck could do 5 service calls in a day is not practical. So 62 miles on the electric charge. Also, nothing in this video tells us how long it takes to charge this big thing. Now let's figure out how much this thing actually costs.
A typical fire truck costs under $1 million. An electric fire truck can cost upwards of $1.7 million.
$1.7 million. No. I guarantee you that it's at least double, if not triple. Because remember, you're going to have to charge this thing. So there has to be a charging unit installed at every fire department, fire station. And that means that if you have multiple trucks, it's going to be multiple charging units. And we'll talk about how much those charging units cost in just a moment. So you're almost paying double for the electric fire truck toy that they're showing off here. This story alone illustrates, in just this one little clip, the various impractical challenges with an all-electric mandate. Because I can guarantee you, you dial 911, you have an emergency, the last thing you want to hear is the dispatcher say, "Sorry, we can't dispatch a truck yet because it's still charging." Again, absolute insanity. We're being forced to pay a lot more money in order to do the things that we do day to day because they want us to do it through electric. And it's going to get worse, and that's what we need to explore in this video. So let me start out first with the mandate. Where did it come from? In August of 2022, the California Air Resources Board, which this is an unelected bureaucracy. It's 5 commissioners appointed by the governor and the politicians. Whenever the politicians don't want to feel the heat for a bad decision, they basically get a government bureaucracy to impose the mandate. And this California Air Resources Board, CARB, is absolutely out of control. And they have so much wide-ranging powers that they have the ability to ban gas-powered cars in the state of California. Can you imagine that we're banning gas-powered cars in California and not a single vote on this issue has been held at the state legislature? Absolute insanity. Talk about depriving the public of transparency and the accountability of holding these politicians' feet to the fire. They get to say, "Oh, I didn't do it. It was some unelected board that did it." Well, you appoint those people, and you shouldn't be giving them that sort of wide-ranging power to make this sort of decision. So their decision in August of 2022 is that no gas-powered car is allowed to be sold in California after December 31st, 2034. And they actually don't wait to put the mandate into effect. You see, right now, by the end of December 31st, 2024, California Air Resources Board has mandated that the automakers must sell 33% of cars in California as electric. Now, what that mandate's going to mean is that auto manufacturers and auto dealers are going to be on the lot with gas-powered cars and electric vehicle cars. It's going to result in your gas-powered car prices going up. You know why? Because the auto dealers have to hit this mandate. If they don't hit this mandate, they are in big trouble with penalties and fines. And so what will happen is that the auto dealers and the manufacturers will start pricing cars to try to push demand, to try to give incentives. Well, they need to make money on the whole. So what they might do is increase the cost of the gas-powered car to give you a break and take a loss on the electric vehicle, all because California state politicians are putting their thumb on the scale. And so you might say, "Oh, this looks like a steal. Look at the price of this car. It's less expensive. I'll buy that." Well, then you get into the cost of actually charging it. We'll talk about that in just a moment. But I do want to point out the irony. 10 days after the California Air Resources Board voted to impose this mandate in August of 2022, Governor Gavin Newsom issued an emergency declaration asking people to stop using power, to limit their use of power, because we were going to have brownouts and blackouts. Think about the insanity of this. So 10 days after we say we're going to go all electric, which means that we're not going to use gas to drive around, we're going to have to plug in to the electric grid. The governor says we've so mismanaged our electric grid that you all need to basically sit in the dark, turn down the thermostat, sit in the heat with no air conditioning, because we have a 10-day emergency alert that he issued and a concern about power outages. This is insanity, and this power outage warning is just absolutely ironic that it occurs just right after CARB implements this mandate. So that's our first challenge: is we're not going to have the energy to support an all-electric vehicle fleet in California. In fact, the California Energy Commission estimates that in order to go to electric vehicles, it will increase the electric vehicle charging impact, the demand on our electric grid, by a tenfold impact. Right now, we have about 1% of electric vehicles. 1% of our energy is being used during peak hours for electric vehicles. That's going to spike to 5% by 2030 and 10% by 2035. Now, that may not seem like a big increase, but when you're looking at brownouts and blackouts that literally are keeping our power supply within a 1% of demand and supply, that is a big deal. Small percentages in shifting of demand on the electric grid have a huge impact. And remember, we're talking about percentages across the whole. We're not talking about peak demand in a lot of these cases. California Energy Commission says that we'll have to increase energy production by 42% between now and 2035 just to keep pace with the electric vehicle demand. And then we're going to have to increase it by 85% by 2045. Oh, and again, that's spreading the energy usage across 24 hours throughout the day. That is not how people charge their cars. In fact, the Energy Commission has admitted that in order to handle the peak charging times, the state of California will have to not only double, but triple our energy capacity by 2045. Now, mind you, right now, we are living under the threat of periodic blackouts and brownouts. And right now, California has to import a third of its energy from neighboring states. We don't even produce enough energy right now to meet our needs. We're 30% short right now, and that's with all the extra solar and various renewables that we've brought online. So if you're importing a third right now, you don't have enough, you have a deficit, and then you say, well, we're going to have to triple our capacity at certain times by 2045, this is simply not workable. And let me just let you know that this comes at a time when California politicians are not just telling us we have to ban gas-powered cars to add to the demand on the electric grid. They're saying we need to ban gas-powered appliances in the state of California. Your stove, your furnace, your water heater, all will transition from gas-powered to electric. That will have a monumental impact, a drain on the energy grid. And of course, as we're doing that, these same politicians are telling us our energy supplies are dirty. And so we have to get rid of gas power plants. And we've got to get rid of the El Diablo nuclear power plant, which, by the way, El Diablo alone, that nuclear power plant, provides 10% of California's energy supply. And it was supposed to go offline in 2024. Gavin Newsom realized it would create a crisis. He extended it. But again, the left-wing political groups in California are demanding that that nuclear power plant be shut down within the decade. This is insanity, my friends. We do not have the energy to actually implement this mandate. One last thing. I don't trust the figures from the California Energy Commission because they like to understate things. They're dominated by environmental climate change activists. So they're always going to want to soften the real impact of these crazy policies. So I pulled up a study by the San Diego Gas and Electric Company. It was recently done in 2021. It says that total electricity consumed by Californians is expected to surge by 96% between 2020 and 2045. Net demand during peak hours is also projected to increase by 60%, all because of these climate change regulations of electric vehicles and the issues of natural gas appliance bans. We've got a problem implementing this initiative with the electric grid. And in a moment, I'll talk about costs, but keep in mind the fact that when you have a shortage of a commodity like electricity, the price automatically increases. The second thing is we actually don't have the infrastructure to go all electric with our vehicles. I mean, think about this. Where are you going to charge your car when you're out and about? I mean, at home, obviously, you think I can charge it overnight, but that's not necessarily very practical. When you're out and about, you're going to need a charge. If you run out of energy, you need that charge. Right now, we only have 80,000 public charging stations statewide. In order to implement this mandate, we're going to need to increase that by 15 times. We need 1.2 million charging stations, and that's only by 2030. So the other mandate that kicks in after 2030 is going to require millions and millions and millions more charging stations. And unlike filling up a gas tank that might take you maybe 2 or 3 minutes, 4 minutes at the gas station, charging an electric vehicle simply takes longer, much longer. And drivers may not have a reliable place, a convenient place, a convenient schedule to actually get that done. Also, think about the fact that we do have auto mechanics out there, and now what are they supposed to do? They're transitioning to a whole new skill set to service our vehicles. And then, of course, how do you recycle or dispose of the batteries? Do we have the infrastructure for that? None of these politicians have thought that far. They just like the feel-good idea of saying that they're fighting climate change and they've got a mandate and it's a bold step, a bold action. They don't care about the cost, the consequence, the infrastructure, the practicality. Speaking of cost, that's the third reason why we need to be concerned. Let's start out first with just those charging stations, since I just mentioned them. A standard level 2 charger, and that would be what you would put in your home, will cost you $7,000 to $11,000. But if you suddenly have a massive demand on an appliance, you have a supply chain challenge. So the $7,000 to $11,000 cost for a standard level 2 charger, which would be a home use charger, that is going to have a major ripple effect if everyone starts asking to buy these. We won't be able to produce enough, and so the price will skyrocket. And who's going to install them? We're going to be really looking for electricians, and we won't have enough trained tradespeople to do all the work. So the costs are much higher than what we see today. A fast charging station costs between $100,000 and $120,000 each. So let me go back to just the 2030 number. If we've got a need for 1.2 million charging stations by 2030, that's not to meet the mandate by 2035 or the mandate for 2045, but just to keep pace with the mandate's implementation. That's 1,120,000 charging stations. So let's say that everyone's going to be inconvenient. We're just going to have a basic charging station of $11,000. Well, that's $12.3 billion. Do you have $12.3 billion? I didn't think so. And so let's take a look at the idea that we're going to have the fast charging stations at $150,000. That is $168 billion of cost, and that doesn't even include the expenses for the supply chain increases, supply demand that you are going to see happen when there's something that's high demand, when an appliance is high demand, and of course the staffing of electricians to install. So that's just for charging stations. Now let's talk about the actual energy cost per kilowatt hour. And electricity rates are going to absolutely skyrocket. You thought the doubling and tripling of rates this past year were bad. Just wait until we have everyone charging their cars. And a lot of people wanting to do it at a time that's convenient during peak hours. And on top of that, banning those gas appliances. from your home. And on top of that, limiting how we produce energy, electricity in the state of California. It is going to absolutely bankrupt you to pay your power bill. It's not possible. You're just not going to be able to do it. And so no one understands the cost implications of these policies, the mandate that was just adopted. They just expect you to pay it. And I guarantee you that Gavin Newsom and whoever his liberal successor is, and all those politicians in Sacramento, when your rates quadruple, and then from that point, quadruple again, and then from that point, quadruple again, they'll sit there and say, oh, it's not our fault. We don't know why this is happening. We need to have an investigation. Why are the rates going up? It must be those greedy Wall Street executives. No, you've done it to the people through these crazy policies. You didn't think through these policies. In the summer, and we're talking about peak costs, when energy is at peak, PG&E customers pay 55 cents per kilowatt hour during 2021. This is 2021 numbers. That was double the 24 cents that they were paying during off-peak times. So we know that during peak times that you're paying double. You're going to see a major increase in your electric costs every single year. That's why I'm urging the governor and the state legislature, you got to reconsider this. Stop your virtue signaling nonsense. Stop trying to, pretend to be doing something when in fact you're just creating a problem. And if these politicians don't understand that, if they don't wake up and see that this is a fool's errand, then we've got to put pressure on them. So I urge you to join the campaign at Reform California. We've got an effort underway to push back against utility rate hikes. And part of that is to point out policies unworkable, such as an all-electric vehicle mandate. Go online to reformcalifornia.org, reformcalifornia.org. Please join our effort. Sign up as a volunteer. Contribute. We are completely funded by grassroots donors. The average contribution to our effort, $67 per year. And usually that's someone giving $20, $20, $20 over a period of time. So please consider a contribution of any amount at reformcalifornia.org. And then, of course, please share this video. Share our news stories on these issues. Voters are not getting the information that they need about the consequence of these policies from a variety of liberal media outlets that simply either are too lazy to figure this stuff out and do the research, or they actually have bought into this crazy agenda. So help us fight back. Help us save California from itself. Prevent these skyrocketing costs, these unworkable mandates. Thanks for watching. Help us break through the censorship of the liberal media by liking this video, sharing it with your friends, and subscribe to my YouTube channel.